You ever watch a UFC fight and think, man, these fighters are absolute beasts? Yeah, me too. The adrenaline, the power, the skill, it's hard not to get hooked. But here's the thing. Behind all the lights, the hype, and the intense knockouts, there's a darker side to UFC that most people either don't know about or just choose to ignore. It's not just about bruises and broken bones. The hidden dangers of UFC run way deeper than that. And honestly, it's kind of scary when you really start digging into it. Let's start with the obvious, the physical toll. Sure, fighters train for this. They're conditioned to take hits and bounce back. But repeated blows to the head, that's not something the human body is designed to handle over and over again. Concussions are a massive issue in UFC, and the scary part is that they're not always obvious right away. A fighter could take a brutal hit, shake it off, and keep going, only to find out years later that the damage to their brain is permanent. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, is a real threat, and it's been linked to long-term memory loss, depression, and even aggressive behavior. The worst part? There's no cure for it. And it's not just about head trauma. The sheer intensity of UFC training and competition puts enormous strain on the entire body. Fighters push themselves to the absolute limit, often ignoring injuries just to make weight or stay in the game. Torn ligaments, broken bones, and muscle damage are pretty much guaranteed in this sport. But what most people don't see is the long-term impact. Fighters are often left with chronic pain and mobility issues that follow them for the rest of their lives. The human body can only take so much punishment before it starts breaking down for good. Now, here's where it gets even more intense: weight cutting. If you've followed UFC for a while, you've probably heard about fighters cutting insane amounts of weight just to make their weight class. We're talking about dropping 15 to 20 pounds in a matter of days. How do they do it? Extreme dehydration, sauna sessions, and basically starving themselves. It's brutal and it's dangerous. Severe weight cutting can lead to kidney failure, heart problems, and in some tragic cases, even death. Yet, it's still a common practice because everyone's looking for that competitive edge. And the UFC? Well, let's just say they're not exactly quick to put a stop to it. But the hidden dangers of UFC go beyond just the physical damage. The mental toll is just as brutal, if not worse. Imagine stepping into the octagon knowing that one wrong move could end your career or your life. The pressure to win, to perform, to be the best, it's intense. And when a fighter loses, the fallout can be devastating. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse are all too common among retired fighters. The adrenaline rush of the fight becomes addictive, and when it's gone, many fighters struggle to find meaning in life outside the cage. And let's not forget about the financial side. Sure, the top fighters make millions, but for every superstar, there are dozens of fighters barely scraping by. UFC contracts are notoriously one-sided, with fighters often getting a small cut of the massive revenue the organization pulls in. Medical coverage? Minimal. Retirement plans? Forget about it. Fighters are essentially treated like disposable assets, valuable when they're winning, forgotten when they're not. I just want to take a second here and say thank you for sticking with me this far. Seriously, it means a lot that you're interested in looking beyond the surface and really understanding what's going on behind the scenes in UFC. Most people just see the highlight reels and the championship belts. They don't stop to think about the cost. So thank you for caring enough to dig deeper. At the end of the day, UFC is an incredible sport. It's raw, it's intense, and it's deeply entertaining. But there's a dark side that can't be ignored. Fighters are risking their bodies, their minds, and their futures every time they step into that cage. And the sad reality is that many of them won't have much to show for it once their careers are over. So next time you're watching a fight, maybe take a moment to appreciate what these athletes are sacrificing. Not just for the win, but for the love of the sport.